And I recognize the gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Biggs, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Mobbs, in your written testimony, you open a section on multilateral institutions by stating the UN is a failed institution. I used to represent NGOs at many multilateral institutions, including the United Nations, and if you want to see illiberal democracy at work, you need to just go up to the UN. If you want to see corruption at work, you just need to go to the UN. So can you elaborate on your statement that it's a failed institution?
Absolutely. I mean, clearly it's paralytic, it's bureaucratic, there is evidence of corruption, as you said, if you read my written statement, but just a few examples of that is the Rwanda genocide that we saw occur, Bosnia, Syria, its inability to deter aggression in Ukraine. Not only that, there was the oil for food scandal in 2004. Oftentimes they spend more money on conferences and the administration than they do actually on the programs. There's been UN peacekeeping abuses, there's been allegations of sexual exploitation in Haiti, Congo, all over the place. I am not against alliances, but I think it is clear that this institution no longer serves American interests and is oftentimes, in fact, contrary to American interests.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'll leave that, and I'll just point out that when in the discussion on soft power, economic relationships, trade relationships, those are also indicative of soft power as well. And the U.S. Is actually, I believe, now using this kind of soft power. I mean, you see it in the response with Mexico and Canada, just like lickety-split, to actually close the border. So now you have record lows. You haven't seen this low number of daily encounters in probably 30 years more. I don't know when. I grew up on the border. I don't know when we've seen fewer than these. So I'm going to go on now. Dr. Sadler, yokoso irashaimase. Watashi mo nihongo ga dekiru na. Glad to have you here with us today. The weakness on the world stage emboldened our geopolitical rivals. China and Russia continuously attack U.S. critical infrastructure with few consequences. And what can the Trump administration do to hold China and Russia accountable for these attacks?
Well, thanks. This is the challenge of this new Cold War that we're in. First, we have to be willing to use all tools that are available to us for an end state, a strategic end. And too often we've operated in cylinders of excellence, the economics kind of on their own, the military off on their own, and the diplomatic kind of on their own. We need to bring that together and bring all those forces to bear, and specifically. Just this morning, actually, in the last, not this morning, but the last 24 hours, there was a vessel, Chinese vessel, yet again, caught severing undersea cables to Taiwan. That vessel is being boarded right now. This is the type of, I would say, we're moving out of gray zone, a comfortable gray zone that we've gotten too comfortable the last 20 years, into a more real and more conventional kind of confrontation. So we have to be ready for these types of incidents. We have to be able to hold those shipping companies.
I just want to interrupt you just for a sec. When you talk about that is not the first time that's happened, and even in the last 6 weeks. It's happened multiple times.
Yes.
I want to ask you this question. It's been reported that Chinese-backed hacking groups Volt Typhoon and Salt Typhoon have gained access to U.S. energy and telecommunications infrastructure. These groups targeted existing law enforcement and national security intercepts, the wiretap access points. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to submit for the record an article called Chinese Telecom Espionage Began with Much Broader Aims, and another one, U.S. officials urge Americans to use encrypted apps amid unprecedented cyber attack.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you. The same report suggests that these attacks were successful in accessing communications of 150 select high-value targets, including people affiliated with President-elect Donald Trump. The cyber attacks were so thoroughly embedded in telecom infrastructure that federal law enforcement agencies urged Americans to use communication methods with end-to-end encryption, despite years of efforts by these same agencies to mandate similar backdoors and end-to-end encrypted communication apps. Mr. Sadler, what do you believe the Trump administration could do to fight against these cyber attacks?
There, of course, is the question of offensive, where you have to put more cost and accountability on those that are launching these attacks. That's always going to remain behind the veil of secrecy, but continuing to resource and to continue to sharpen those tools, which in many cases may take months, if not years, to get the placement necessary, so that when an actor like the Chinese Communist Party does do another attack against us, the United States, and the citizens, that we're able to levy a cost on them.
Internationally, you're seeing that the UK has secretly demanded that Apple create a similar backdoor to allow for government to spy on users' encrypted accounts. Senator Ron Wyden and I wrote a letter to the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, on this issue earlier this month. I'd ask that it be received into the record.
Without objection, so ordered. Gentleman's
Oh, how I wish I had more time. Thanks.